Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Village of Gold River regular council meeting. Just like to start off our meeting with our land acknowledgement, acknowledging that we're on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Macho First Nations. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The introduction of late items. Mr. Roy, do you have any late items for our agenda, sir?
No, your worship.
Councilors, is there anything you wish to introduce to the agenda as a late item? Councilor Weimer.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce UBCMS to our agenda,
Okay. New,
or for minister meetings.
new minutes, new business, good for you?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, meeting asks.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Everybody's happy with that? No problems? All good? Perfect. Anything else, counselors? Nope. Seeing none, moving on to the next item. Approval of the agenda, that the agenda be adopted as presented. Who care to move it? Counselor, nobody? Counselor Fawcett? Counselor Pickard? Discussion? Seeing none, call for the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes, that the regular meeting minutes from May 19, 2026 be adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor Weimer, second by Councillor Fossin. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the question. All in favor? Done. Public and statutory hearings, none. Unfinished business, none. Delegations, did you guys want to? No delegations, sir? Nope. Administrative report, starting off the first one, 8.1. Speculation and vacancy tax, SVT, overview and potential inclusion of Gold River. Move that the speculation and vacancy tax, SVT overview and potential inclusion of Gold River report be accepted for information. Who care to move it? Councillor Fawcett, second by Councillor Pickard. Any discussion? I remember Councillor Waymire was a proponent of this, and I believe he brought it forward. Is there anything that you wanted to touch on there, Councillor Waymire?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this kind of came out of our UBCM ask, where we were looking at taxing vacant land, to encourage housing development. And the Minister of Finance told us, we have all these taxes already. Perhaps you should pursue SVT. And ultimately what this report's kind of telling me is that's not really going to help us all that much. And even if we begged, borrowed, and stole, they would still probably just tell us, yeah, we'll get to you when we get to you. So unfortunately, I mean, I don't consider, land use in this town a dead issue by any means, but I don't think this is necessarily the way for us to pursue our way forward. I don't know that we're going to get many benefits from it if we, got any traction with the province anyway. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing that their recommendation was a dead end, but then we move forward.
Thank you, Councillor Waymire. Councillor Pickard.
Thank you through the chair. And just want to say, Councillor Waymire, thanks so much for just having your ears open and eyes open and just being so responsible to the residents to try to find any way that we can to kind of raise revenue for the village without increasing individual property taxes. I think it's awesome that you brought this, and staff, thank you so much for the really thorough report and just really examining if it would be a good fit. So yeah, thank you guys for all your effort, and eventually it won't be a dead end for extra revenue without putting it on the residents, but really appreciate the report and the idea. Thank you.
Do you want to weigh in, Councillor Fawcett? Question for the CEO. CEO, if we were successful in accessing this, the revenues that were generated as a result of it wouldn't go into village coffers. Would they, sir, they go to the province? Is that correct?
That's correct. They would go to the province. The province would invest in programs in the areas that are impacted by the taxes.
So, but they wouldn't necessarily come back to Gold River, though. If we sent 20,000 out, 20,000 wouldn't come back in. There's no guarantee of that.
No, there's no guarantee of that.
Okay. And the only purpose of having this would be to encourage people that are sitting on empty properties or on lots to actually put those into rental units so that our vacancy rate could go down. Is that the intent of this thing?
The SVT is more targeted to vacant homes or residents, not necessarily vacant properties so much.
And based on the report, I see that we don't have a lot of those.
No, we're very highly owner occupied based on the statistics that we have available to us.
One final question for council. If, does council, I see there was some pathways to pursue it if council is still interested in pursuing it, because I've seen other communities have applied for it and they've added them on as they went along. Is there any appetite on behalf of council to pursue this, or do you just want to drop it at this point because it doesn't seem to really pertain to our community and it's not really going to benefit us? I'm not quite sure where, do you just want to receive it for information, or do you actually want to say we're done, or we would like to carry on and direct staff to continue on with applications? Councilor Waymar.
Yeah, I think we could just receive this for information. Unfortunately, their recommendation was much more for, empty houses, not empty lots. And we've got, full houses and empty lots, and this doesn't really target the empty lots.
So, thank you, Councilor Waymar. Mr. When we receive for information, we just simply receive it. We don't have to act on it, and we just receive it, and it just basically stays dormant. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, sir. Everybody's happy with that? Councilor Foster?
Thank you to the chair. I just have a question. So since we obviously, it looks like we don't meet any of the criteria for the SVT. I just have a question then. Does that mean then that we as a council would then have to go back and look at our tax structure and look at taxing vacant lots, primarily as the village of Gold River instead of involving the province? That was sort of the question that was coming through my mind as since we set the tax rate already, I guess it would be up to us as council or the next councils to look at increasing taxes on vacant lots. That was my question. Is that something that we do, or is that?
If you look at the different
administrative?
tax classifications, there's nothing specific that's surgical that you go in and tax that. You'd be taxing residential, right? That's the classification. But what I'll do is also refer your question to the administrator because he works with that all the time. He's a professional. He may have some insights that I don't have right now.
Thank you.
CEO Roy, could you care to respond to that, sir?
Thanks, your worship. Unfortunately, the mayor is correct. We're not able to get that fine of
Rarely
it.
happens.
Not that it's unfortunately that is correct, but the message of the mayor is correct. It is a very blunt tool, as we found before when we looked at it with the light industry and previously. Vacant lots tend to fall under the recreation based on its identified best use by BC assessment, but there's no way to go and set a separate taxing rate for that type of property on its own.
Thank you. That satisfies my question.
Thank you, Councilor Foster. That's very illuminating. Thanks for sharing that with the community. Councilor Pickard.
You're right a lot. Thank you through the chair, and thanks, Councillor Foston. That's a good idea. And I think as Roy said, vacant lots do get taxed, and the appraised value has gone up quite a lot over the last, almost decade. I think the lots have like almost tripled. So it's kind of been lucky for us that we do get that tax base, and there's without any pressure on the infrastructure and usage of water. So I think that, yeah, we still receive quite a good tax from vacant lots. Thank you.
Any other discussion? No. Call for the question. All in favor? Passed unanimously. On to 8.2. Update to agenda preparation and distribution policy, Council 101. Motion is that council rescind the existing agenda preparation and distribution policy, and that council adopt the updated agenda preparation and distribution policy, Council 101, as attached to this report. Who care to move it? Councilor Wheeler, second by everybody. Wow. Go with ladies first on this one, Councilor Foston. You'd be okay with that?
No, I'm.
Second by Councilor Pickard. Any discussion? Councilor Foston.
Thank you through the chair. I'm thankful that this came through. I think it's after reading this, I'm like, yeah, it only makes sense to use the technology that we have available to us to use the technology to make sure that we have the agendas and the fact that it's open and transparent onto the website is good too. My only concern is that we will be consuming less paper, and thus Western Forest and Cypress Creek and Suncoast may not have as much business from us. But In a serious note, though, I am assuming though, and it's never good to assume, but that should the computer systems or the data streams go down, we will be going back to paper for a significant amount of time until those issues are resolved. That's just popped into my head while I was reading this yesterday. So all in all, I'm for it. I think it's a great thing. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fossin. Mr. Roy, would the default would be go to paper copy in the event of some sort of technological crash?
Yes, that would be our only other option if everything technology crashed on us and we had no other choice.
And is that helpful to have that reflected in your policy, or is it just an assumed?
No, I think that's more of a business continuity thing, that if we had a disruption to our services, that would come under more of a business continuity plan.
Okay, fair enough, great. Councillor Pickard.
Thank you to the chair, and thanks Administrator Roy for bringing this up, and I'm thankful for it too. And I think it's great just as these policies come up to modernize them to what we're currently doing and reflect that. So thanks for the report.
Great. Councillor Wimmer?
Yeah, this is just a, update of the policy of, since we've got these things, having the old policy isn't really useful. And I'm kind of glad that we do have these things, because we otherwise would have used a ream of paper on dental health day.
Thank you, Councillor Wimmer. And from my perspective, this just is a policy catching up with the practice, because since we started here 4 years ago, this is basically the practice that we've been conducting council meetings on. So I just think this is a case of getting to it and updating it and making sure that our policies are current and relevant, and that our policies catch up with our practices. I did have one item that I wanted to explore with the administrator, and it's under number 3, clarification of roles and responsibility in the current policy. Agenda preparation coordinated through corporate administration was reviewed by the CEO and the mayor is currently our current practice right now. It's the mayor is engaged in basically reviewing and entering into discussions with staff on the preparation of, well, not really preparation, more of the review of the agenda prior to coming to council. We know that the agenda basically belongs to council, the meeting belongs to council and basically the people, and that it stipulates very clearly that in our adoption of the agenda that we can make changes to that agenda when it comes to us. We can add, we can delete, we can modify, we can amend. So there's lots of things that we can do, but this, the way that the current policy is set up is that there's a requirement for the staff and the mayor to engage in the pre-agenda process prior to it coming to this chambers. And that's when issues can be explored or discussed or reviewed and then introduced or whatever. And what I see in the language of the new policy, if I'm correct, it looks like we're removing that process by writing the mayor out of that work stream. And because what I see with the current one, it says that all agendas will be reviewed between the deputy corporate officer and the CEO and the mayor, which is our current policy. And what's being proposed, that agenda content shall be reviewed in consultation with the CAO and where appropriate, the mayor. So I don't know how you would manage the where appropriate part, because there's nothing in the Local Government Administration Act that I've seen, or the community charter, or even in our council and procedure bylaw that addresses that. Is basically, we know that the corporate officers, they prepare and distribute and make sure they get the agenda out. And that's basically the language. There's no specific language that refers that I've seen in any legislation or in any procedure that specifically pertains that the review is done by the CAO or the CO or the mayor if the CO is indisposed. So my question to the CAO is, what is the difference between what our existing or current arrangement is and what you're proposing in the revised one, Administrator Roy?
From my perspective, I don't really see that there's much of a difference. I think it comes down to each individual mayor and how they wish to interact with the administrator on the agenda preparation.
Okay.
So I think that's more where the appropriate is.
Yeah.
You may have a mayor who's not wanting to get as much into all the details and may only want to be flagged on certain items.
Yeah.
So I think that's more where where appropriate comes into play.
Yeah.
It definitely is not intended to exclude the mayor because that wasn't my intent.
Okay, but even if it wasn't, and I'm glad to hear that's not your intent, because that would alarm me if that was the intent of the bureaucracy to exclude the people's representatives from the agenda preparation process. I see no way of managing where appropriate, that comment where appropriate. There's nothing in the Local Government Administration Act, nothing in the Community Charter, nothing in our
We can
their
just as
council
easily
decided
strike that
it
out, your
brings
worship.
us to when it would be appropriate, and if it's appropriate, who would decide if it was appropriate, whether the council member who is either deputy mayor, mayor, whoever is representing, would be engaged in the process? Who would make that determination? CEO, right?
I think
And
that
it's
will come,
policy.
I think that eventually falls back onto the working relationship between the CEO and the mayor.
Okay,
But again, we can strike that part out and just move forward with that, the where appropriate struck. out.
I would support the revisions of the policy, because I think you've done an outstanding job in reflecting the current, practices and incorporating the new technologies and recognizing that, we're not doing this by paper anymore. But I don't feel comfortable with the language that we have here. I prefer the old language that pertains to the role the mayor or the deputy mayor or council member has in the pre-agenda, review of and engagement in setting up the agenda. And if there's not much difference between that and the intent from what's in the new policy and the old policy, I'd like to see the language in the old policy pertaining to that stay in effect. The rest of it I'm happy with. I've gone through everything else, and I think it's very well, it's very well composed, and it's very well presented. That's the only item that I'm uncomfortable with, because the first thing I felt was that we were writing the mayor out of the process. We're writing the people's representative out of the process. We're writing the people out of the process. And I think it's advantageous to staff and for the politicians to have meeting engagement in the preparation of the agenda, because then they can exchange ideas. The mayor, as the mayor and working with my CEO, I try and make an effort to have a conversation with them and engage with them and review with them every time it comes up. It helps me as a mayor understand where they're coming from. And they're really good about explaining that to me, and it helps me being able to introduce things to them so they understand where I'm coming from. So I don't see any harm in just maintaining the old language and the old dynamic. And the new mayor is going to be, or we're going to have a new council and perhaps even a new mayor in 5 months, depending what our bosses think. So, at this point, I don't want to even be imposing that on the next council, because it's restrictive. I think it's restrictive and it's exclusionary, and I would like to just leave it as it is and adopt the rest of it. I'm happy with the rest of it, but that one bullet there, I'd like to see it stay with the old stuff. Councilor Raymer.
I'd like to amend the policy or make an amendment to the policy to strike where appropriate.
Yeah.
Second.
If I could just make a revision to that, I'd just like to say that what I'd like to see is I'd like to see the language in the current policy retained on that particular item. I know it says the corporate officer prepares it, deputy. I'm happy with that first bullet. The second bullet, I like to see that removed in the current and then replace, or with the proposed and then replaced with what we have currently, and just retain what we have. Other than that, I'm prepared to accept the whole thing. So that's if you're comfortable with that, did you want to have that as did you need that as a motion, sir, or do you just need it as a direction?
All right, now you got to adopt it as is, so it would be an amending motion.
Okay. So it's a friendly amendment to yours, I guess, Councilor Raymar. What I'm proposing.
Yeah, I'm okay with the friendly amendment.
Thank you. And so any discussion on that? I kind of monopolized the floor, but how does council feel about that? Counselor Fawson.
Thank you to the chair, and I thank you for bringing that up. Because, yeah, I do feel it's important that the representatives that have been elected by our community are the ones that are making sure that the items on the agenda are going to be included via the authority that you have as the mayor. Not saying that, I would also hate to see that an employee of the village actually has, not that it isn't intended, but that it could be taken advantage of in the future. Not saying that it's going to happen, but I think as elected officials, it's our job to represent those who elected us. And if somebody has something that needs to come onto the agenda, the mayor has the authority to look at that with the CAO and determine, obviously, we work together as a team, but you determine what comes on the agenda, and it does help direct our meetings. So I just want to say thank you for bringing up that point.
Thank you, Counselor Fawson. Counselor Bickert, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you through the chair, and thanks Mayor Lott for bringing that up also, and thanks Counselor Fawson and for your friendly amendments, Counselor Waymire, but
Things
Um,
complicated after a
yeah,
while.
yeah, but overall, really good points and good points, Counselor Fawcett on, and Mayor Loud on transparency, and this just adds like an extra layer of transparency and make sure what we want on the agenda is on there, and as we've seen in previous meetings, then there's another layer of kind of that transparency and accountability, as residents can only speak to what's on the agenda. So it's really important what's on the agenda, and important that I think that the mayor has oversight and is part of that process. So I agree with the friendly amendments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Call for the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. On to 8.3, update to policy number Council 102 proclamations. That's Council.
Sorry, Your Worship, you still have to go.
Oh, we have to
vote on
go
the
back
main
and do the
question.
regular one? Okay. And then just going back to the full amendment. And we've already got first and second, so any other discussion on that? No. Call for the question. All in favor? Done. Carried. Thank you. Update to policy number Council 102 proclamations, that council repeal the current policy number Council 102 proclamations, and that council adopt the updated policy number Council 102 proclamations dated June the 1st, 2026. If you care to move it, Councilor Fawson, second by Councilor Waymire. Any discussion? Councilor Fawson.
Thank you through the chair. And again, it comes through to the wording. I do believe that it is really important that the elected officials are the ones that are dealing with proclamations. We don't want to put that pressure on staff to, again, being the ones that have to decide about what proclamations come forward. And we're going to see that tonight when we have a proclamation that's being asked in our correspondence. But it's just the elected officials that really are responsible to the residents of Gold River. And I think it's good that I look at the alternatives on this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fawson. Anyone else? I compliment staff in putting together a comprehensive policy for the village of Gold River. I look at what we had before. It was pretty thin. And this one that we put together is much more, how can I say, it provides much more guidance for everyone, and it's much clearer. The thing that caught my attention in your report, C.A. Roy, that interests me, and I want you to maybe comment on it, was the delegation consideration. I was wondering if you could speak to that and help council understand if that would be advantageous for us to weave this into, or send this back to you folks and then weave this into a revised document. Because when I read your comments and I looked at the delegation consideration, it seemed very logical that we would have that as a tool in our toolbox as we revise this policy. Would you care to comment on that, sir?
Sure, Your Worship. Sure, Your Worship. Again, going to what Councillor Fawson brought up, it still leaves it within the jurisdiction of the elected officials. It just allows maybe a streamlined process for dealing with proclamations if they're simple, basic items. then the mayor is delegated the authority to approve them. Or if the mayor feels it should go back to the full council, then it would go back to the full council. But it does keep it in the realm of the elected officials for a final determination.
What intrigued me was it seemed like a streamlining process, and then things that may require full consideration of council and a resolution and appropriate timelines, because, you know, we're only meeting a couple of times a week. That would be appropriate. But if there's short notice things that came up that were pretty straightforward and routine and weren't overtly political or controversial, or, you know, there was a conflict in council, I think that I would like to have the politicians, the mayor, the deputy mayor, whoever's a councilor is on that time, be empowered to make those proclamations. So the idea of including this delegation consideration is appealing to me, and I believe that we have a really good revised policy, and I think that we can make it better by also putting that element into the policy, so that we can deal with short notice stuff, because I don't want to be sitting around waiting for 2 weeks to have a full resolution of council to make a proclamation on something that have some urgency, right? And that you want to do right away. So rather than not have that, because I'd rather have that within the policy. So I probably, based on what council's disposition is, if they believe that that's valuable, then I will defeat the motion tonight and then ask council, I'll just ask the staff to go back and revise it with that element in there, or we can do an alternate motion if that works better for you, sir. What would you prefer, Roy, if council's pleasure is to include your recommendation on delegation?
It's really as council's pleasure. It could be an amendment to include the delegation, or you could direct us to bring back a full version for complete review for the next council meeting.
Anybody care to move that we revise the motion to include the delegation consideration and then have it brought back for the next meeting? Councillor Fossin moves, second by Councillor Pickard. Any discussion? Seeing none, call for the question. All in favor, we'll do that, and then go back to the original motion. No other discussion, I assume. All in favor? Done. Okay. 8.4, lease renewal, authorization to,
I'm sorry, Your Worship.
do you need something else?
The motion that you put on was adopting it, and you just said you voted all in favor of adopting it.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
May want to
I
revisit that.
revised with the revision in it.
Okay, so you want the amendment with it? It's not coming back to staff per se, you just draft it up and maybe put it on the agenda as an information item for the next council meeting?
Yes.
Okay,
Is that council's pleasure? That's what I assumed. Good. Okay, thank you, sir. Lease renewal, authorization to execute renewal agreement, court that council authorize administration to negotiate and execute a lease renewal agreement with His Majesty the King and right of the province of British Columbia, Ministry of Infrastructure, for approximately 1,406 square feet of space located at 499 Mushlet Drive, Gold River, BC, for a 5-year term commencing September the 1st, 2026, with an annual rent increase of 2%. Who care to move it? Councillor Pickard, second by Councillor Waymire. Any discussion? Everybody's happy with that? I'm happy with it. Call for the question. All in favor? Carried. GCC room rental. That council authorized an increase to the Jack Christian Center rental rates from 300 to 320 for a full room and from 150 to 160 for a half room. And that council authorized administration to proceed with a 1-year lease renewal with Campbell River Tax Service, Inc. for $160 per month and $30 per month for utilities. Moved by Councillor Fossin, second by Councillor Waymire. Any discussion? Good. Seeing none, call for the question. All in favor? Done. Reports from Councillor. Councillor Fossin, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. None at this time.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Pickard.
Thank you through the chair. And just first want to start off to extend condolences to our partners and our neighbors and our friends at the MFN community for a recent loss the other day in their community that's really impacted lots of families and friends. And just on behalf of myself and mayor and council in the village of Gold River just wish them our deepest sympathy while they process this loss and grieve together. And our prayers and thoughts are with them in this difficult and tender time. And then in the fish world, I attended the Nooka Sound Watershed Society May monthly meeting last Wednesday. And the Mushlet Gravel project you guys are familiar with is coming along, getting ready for phase 2 and completion. And that'll be in the fish window in August. So you'll see some traffic out there, hopefully just finishing permitting. It's been a couple-year process with Walrus to do that permitting for fish habitat, but it's almost done. Another really exciting point for the village, there was a Secretary of State for Nature, Natalie Provost, and she did an announcement in Oak Bay, Victoria, May 11th. And she talked about different planting projects to restore critical habitats for species at risk and Indigenous partnered restoration efforts. And she talked about 2 projects, and one was ours. So she said on the island, yeah, the Nooka Sound Watershed Society is receiving $917,000 to plant more than 82,000 trees to restore 22 hectares of riparian habitat along salmon streams damaged by historic logging operations and 4.3 hectares of uplands forest damaged by landslides in the Octwanch and Upper Mushelet. So super awesome news. And this is such a collaborative project. The village has been supportive of it. Salmon Parks is on the ground doing work with their techs. MMFN techs are doing work. Western Forest, this is historic logging. So Western's been really supportive. And the team, Nooka Reforestation, has been doing really awesome work. So I've given a chance, nature can heal itself. So hopefully just all these little bits bring everything kind of back into balance and bring kind of salmon bearing streams and rivers back to functioning. And then just last point, yeah, so congrats to everyone on that team. And there was one other project mentioned and they got 1.06 million for 8,000 trees. So shows how efficient the planting team was out here. They did 82,000 for 917,000. So good work out there. And kind of along those lines, we've been watching the snow survey and water supply bulletin. I was chatting with the CAO before this, but for the May 15th snow bulletin report, they kind of measure snow melt, seasonal snow melt, and we're for Vancouver Island, we're at 11% of the normal. So looking really like droughts and extreme temperatures, and it's kind of forecasted, yeah, drought hazards. So just for residents to be aware, and we talked, we can't really conserve now because our storage and we can't make the aquifers bigger. I know there's some misunderstandings of how those work, but yeah, but just understanding that might affect us later this summer. So yeah, hopefully not, and we get some rain soon, but the conditions are looking pretty lower than water snow basins and snowpacks, or lower than normal. So yeah, that's all, and thank you. And hopefully we can keep the water park going for the kids all summer. And yeah, that's all. We'll get the next update June 8th or 9th. So we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Pickard. Speaking of modern technology, I think something that was born out of the COVID-19 era is that councilors can attend meetings virtually now. They in the past usually had to put a butt in a seat, but today, because of technology, we can have councilors that can't make it to the chambers still participate in the meeting. And we have Councilor Pringle somewhere behind that black curtain there, I think. And
No, I can't get my
if you
camera
wanted
to work.
to, if you wanted to comment, Councilor Pringle, or report on anything, this is your opportunity.
I just wanted to say, with my recent injuries, I wasn't able to go to the Vancouver Island Regional Library meeting on Saturday. I haven't even seen my grandchildren in 2 months. It's been terrible. But anyways, I just wanted to also extend our condolences to Sheila and Jim and their family and her sister and her brother on the passing of Grace Hoffman. She was a big light for the Legion. Her and her husband did a lot of work, and they were very awesome. Well, they lived in Tassus for many, many years, and they did lots of work for their communities. And we just would like to extend our heartfelt condolences and wish you all hugs and peace at this time.
Wonderful. Good to hear from you, Councillor Pringle.
Good to see you all.
Take care. Councillor
Thanks.
Waymire.
On May 23rd, I got to attend the cemetery, or the first annual Cemetery Appreciation Day in Gold River. We had a double-digit attendance, which is quite nice. Though hopefully it's an opportunity for us to continue growing this event. Compliments to the staff who came, or who had the cemetery looking really beautiful compared to, say, 4 years ago. I received quite a few compliments about the grounds there, so thank you so much for that. Yeah, it was a great time for reflection and spreading ideas and stories. So hopefully a bigger event next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Waymire. And I don't have anything interesting really to report on during this period of time, so we'll move on to the next item. Information items, work in progress. Council received the work in progress for information. Who care to move it? Councillor Waymire, second by Councillor Fawcett. Any discussion? I think I know where you're going. Councillor Waymire.
I don't quite know where I'm going here, so we'll see if you're correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not on the report, but I guess through the chair to the CAO. Do we have an update on the Nimkish Park plan through McElhaney?
So, Roy.
Our consultant is just finalizing and cleaning it up, so I'm hoping we'll have it here shortly.
Thank you.
Good, Councillor Roy. Any other councillors? CO Roy, well, the item number 1, report on speculation and vacancy tax in British Columbia, does that automatically come off of this list now, or do we have to do anything to action that?
So far, that's been our practice. Once it's done, I do remove it off. I leave it on until after you've dealt with it, but then I'll take it off for the next one.
Okay, so we, just from my understanding, the status of that now is we have dealt with it, it can be removed. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
And like I ask you every meeting that we get together, has there been any update on our stop sign? Anything response from the Mountain First Nations?
Unfortunately, we're still waiting to hear back from their language people regarding it.
Okay, thank you, sir. And what about from the provincial people? Like from, I know we have Motor Vehicle Act and we have legislation there. What, could you just refresh for me, germination, or is that even legal under the Motor Vehicle Act?
To be honest, I'd probably
Sure.
have to check with our director of operations to confirm that one. I'm not 100% clear myself on that.
Fair enough. Is Director of Operations Doxy going to be here for our next meeting, or is I'm not sure of his holiday schedule?
He has no other time off between now and the next meeting, so.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, perhaps you guys can discuss it when you have your meetings, find out what the status is there. Appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Anything else? Councilor Pickard.
Thank you through the chair. And just about the action item list there, what's the process if we want to get something that we struck off back on there? Don't celebrate it done too early. I was reading the Campbell River, their MRDT tax, and they got 600,000, and they're doing such good community and tourism events. And I pass by the hotel every day, and it's super full, and tourism is looking really good. So I'm just wondering what the process is to revisit that awesome report our staff did for us.
So Roy, would you care to comment on that? Or
That would be a
like
note
that
of
to go away?
motion from the councillor to bring it back.
Do you want to?
See you in 2 weeks.
Together, Councilor Pickard? Is that your intention, or is that you're happy with the response?
Yeah.
You're good?
I'll
Okay.
just remind you though, part of the reason that we didn't move forward was because there was no interest from MFN at that time, and bearing in mind that they also are owner of one of the hotels, which is probably a large percentage of the accommodations. So I think anything moving forward will have to have their involvement.
Thank you.
And now with the U-Chuck down, who knows what's going to happen?
Chuck's down.
Yeah, they broke their rudder.
Sorry, could you repeat that? I didn't hear you, Councilor Pringle.
The U-Chuck's rudder was broken It hit a rock. And so it's not going to, we can't have any of the trips, the UQuat trips for the schools because they have to get the rudder fixed. And I think that's going to take all of June. I'm not quite sure, but it's down for for a while.
Hmm. Thank you for sharing that with us. Didn't know
They
that.
just got out of retrofit. Yeah, that's sad.
Anything else, Counselor Pringle?
No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Mayor.
No, that's not
Apologies.
interrupting. I just want to make sure you had an opportunity to express yourself. You're good? Okay. Any other comments under work in progress? All good? No more discussion, call for the question, all in favor? Did it. Reports from committees, none, bylaws, none, correspondence, council received the block correspondence for information. You care to move it, Counselor Dawson, second by Counselor Waymire, discussion. I see that there's an action item in there and one of them, Counselor Fossin.
Thank you. Through the chair, I think I was just going to mention the action item where we have the letter from Raj Kajuna wanting to know if we would, on behalf of the National Dental Care Day Foundation if we would go ahead with having a National Dental Care Day on October 10th, 2026. So I wanted to speak to that.
Yes, sir.
We have obviously just gone through where our procedures where we want to be able to have the council make these decisions. And I've read through everything. I was just amazed at the amount of information they've given, the thoroughness of this document as well, stating all their credentials, their licensing with the government, everything. So I do hope that we as council would consider their request. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fossin. Just a question to the CAO. We do have criteria within our policy in order for council to consider these requests. Mr. Wright, does this request meet that threshold of our policy, sir?
Unfortunately, I didn't evaluate this corresponds against the policy because it wasn't in place at the time.
Would you care to defer this to the next meeting then and bring it back?
Bearing in mind that it's not needed till October 10th, we could actually bring it back in the first meeting of September and still be well in advance of this.
Would that be acceptable to Councilor Fossin?
Thank you through the chair. And I do agree with that. I think it's really important that we look at the procedures and make sure that it falls
Our
into
criteria.
the criteria.
Give you some
So-
time to prepare a motion for the next
Exactly,
meeting.
exactly.
We can move on it. Is the next meeting appropriate for that? Is that an appropriate timeline for you, CEO Roy?
Again, as I said, it's not till October 10th, so we
Yeah.
has as we can go as far as into September to bring it back and have it done.
There's no urgency.
There's no urgency based on the date that they're requesting. So
Okay, thank you, sir. Did you still want to address the question, Councilor Pickard?
Or is Councillor Fossin doing a motion next meeting? Or
I
review it?
think he's just going to wait for the report to come back
Okay.
and he'll be formulating something as
Okay.
we're preparing for that
Okay, well-
information to come back to us. That's what I understood, Councilor Fossin. Am I paraphrasing it correctly?
Yes, Your Honor, you are.
Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Councillor Fossin, and I agree with you. It's such a really thorough and well put together report and such a special initiative and so kind that the professionals, we all know dental care can be really expensive, and if you don't have coverage, the treatment was skewed towards women and female demographics, and yeah, the stories of people with restored dignity and relief and compassion with the dental care is awesome. And I know the hub they bring a dentist and do all the child cleaning for some local kids or kids that it's something extra to add on. So maybe we could coordinate with them at the hub for the day they bring a dentist. And I know the dentist I go to in Campbell River, Compass Dental, they have a free dental day. I don't know if it's linked in with this, but there's a wait out down the street out the door at like 5 a.m. because it's really such a big deal for people. And if you're in pain or financially challenged, that it's a really special thing. So I support your future motion, and I'm glad that Raj something brought this to our attention. So I think it's really kind and really important for people to have their smile. Thanks.
Great. Any other discussion? Seeing none, call the question. Steve, all in favor? Moving on to new business. Meeting requests with ministers for the UBCM. Councilor Waymire, did you want to lead off on that, sir?
Yeah, so I've got a list of 5-ish ministries or ministers I'd like to meet with. Not sure how we want to kind of do this, but
Share with us who you're interested in meeting, sir.
sure. Let's start with housing. Kind of hot off the SVT. If SVT is not going to work for us, time to pursue other avenues. I've got one big ask for the minister, and then there's another one that's kind of more staff level that can happen anytime, not UBCM. So that ask would be to create a pilot program for rural communities where grants bridge the gap between construction cost and market value.
Great.
So that is the ask. Backgrounder being, or an example being, where the cost of construction exceeds appraised value, the province would provide a partial grant to close the gap. Backgrounder being, we have the land, we have the municipal support, the barriers, not willingness, it's the costs of building in a rural community. And it's a problem that, I mean, we are tackling with our revitalization tax. But provincial help is going to realistically help us solve this problem.
Do you want to go through your list, sir? Is that all?
Or that would be housing.
Yeah, did you want to, I'm open to hearing what the rest of them are if you're.
Sure,
Share that with council.
we can certainly do that. Finance is kind of blended into this. So the Minister of Finance, Brenda Bailey, we're looking for a development of tools that complement municipal revitalization tax exemptions for rural communities. Examples being a PSD rebate on new construction, property transfer tax exemptions, or provincial tax credits for rural builds. And ask number 2 being, I believe it was last meeting, the mayor of Abbotsford, in his correspondence, talked about kind of the downloading of costs and PST. And I basically pulled this right from them, asking the Minister of Finance to exempt local government from the application of PST on professional and related services, or implement a rebate or offset mechanism similar to the GST model to avoid intergovernmental cost downloading and mitigate impacts on affordability and infrastructure delivery. So that's finance. Minister of Transportation and Transit, that old one.
28.
Highway 28. Actually, I think I want to save this one for next meeting. I believe that is still within our timeline.
June 15th, I believe that'd be the last day. Does that work for you, CEO Roy? Or would you prefer to have the information?
Oh, that would work.
Yeah, I understand the CAO is following up with their staff, so the ask may resolve around that.
CEO Roy, just for clarification, is June the 15th, is that clock 12 o'clock that night, or is that 5 o'clock business that you'd have to have that information by? So
I thought it was June 23rd or something.
I thought it was the 15th for some reason, but I may be incorrect. If
I will double check that.
yeah, because I don't want to miss hard deadlines. I may be incorrect. I get a lot of dates, but somehow that one resonates with me. Do you know what the submission date is on that, Councilor Renaud?
I do not at this point, but I believe our CAO may have that for us any moment now.
You want to carry on?
I'll carry on in
Thank you,
that
sir.
time frame. I thought this was the Ministry of Environment and Parks, but apparently it's the Minister of Environment and Climate Change, and that is referring to the dock at Mushelet. The ask very much being
Yep.
replace the dock,
Yeah. Finance it.
finance the replacement, make it happen.
Mhm.
Yeah, awkwardly, the Ministry of Environments and Parks aren't responsible for parks. They're, so, I mean, thankfully, it's in the Environment and Climate Change Ministry because they're one of the ones who probably actually have a budget.
Mhm.
This is another one that might be 2 weeks down the line. Citizen Services. I think we all know that it's going to be referring to City West. Last mile funding, are we served? I kind of want to follow up on getting more information first before we go and hit our head against a brick wall over and over again, as we've been doing. Minister of Forests. I've got 3 asks there. To establish clear service standards for forestry permitting and approvals to certainty for fiber supply and, oh God, what did I scribble? Investment decisions. Number 2, work with regional governments, First Nations, and industry to identify barriers preventing access to economically viable fiber and develop solutions where conservation objectives and sustainable harvesting can coexist.
Get a copy.
And number 3, review the Heritage Conservation Act co-management process and work with local government, First Nations, UBCM, and First Nations. Oh, sorry, I got First Nations twice, and industry to create a framework that protects cultural values while providing clear, workable pathways forward for resource development decisions. So those are the 3 for the Minister of Forests. And Walrus, I have 1. Ensure the ecosystem biodiversity framework includes clear economic safeguards, measurable objectives, and a commitment to maintaining a viable working forest that provides jobs or supports jobs, communities, and investment. Oh, no, that's the old one. Ensure the ecosystem biodiversity framework protects biodiversity while maintaining viable working forest, sustainable fiber supply, and economic certainty for forestry dependent communities. So just change up the wording a little bit there. And those are the ministers I'd like to, or at the top of my list anyway.
Thank you, Councilor Waymire. I'd like to talk to all those ministers also. Any other additions or comments that you'd like to see? Councilor Fawcett?
Thank you through the chair. And thank you, Councilor Waymire, for that list. I also am looking at this though going, we need to be pressuring them for our industry, our businesses.
I think
We really need
energy
really need BC Hydro. And we need to attack
Yeah.
any minister involved with small business, big business in the province of BC, because this list is great, but I'm looking at it going, it really has to affect big business in our community, i.e. West Coast terminals. Because as you said before, Mr. Mayor, the way West Coast terminals goes is the way Gold River goes.
Agreed.
And forestry, I agree, we need to look at permitting. That's really the big holdup from what I've heard from Western Forest, Cypress Creek, Suncoast, Moa to Mushelet is getting the permitting. But I would like to see us really put pressure on the Minister of, it might be on energy or whatnot, right? But BC Hydro, we need to hit them hard. So whatever minister that is, I really think we need to put that at number 1 or number 2 on the list. So thank you.
You stole my thunder, Councilor Fawcett, and that's the number 1 item that I have. I have 1 item and 1 item only because I believe as that issue goes, so does Gold River. And if you want to see Gold River recover, then you have to get energy to that site. And if you want to get that energy on the agenda, you've got to get it into the minister's presence that Gold River, their number 1 request from the provincial government is help us get power supply to the old mill site. We need 200 megawatts down there, according to the manager, in order to attract the industries that would be interested in locating on that site. Without that, we're not going anywhere. We're just spinning our tires. And like I said before, it's the formula that's out there right now where business is not going to locate there because there's not power. And they can't wait 5 to 7 years. And BC Hydro isn't going to even think about it or invest any money or make an effort unless somebody's committed to, investing and building on a site. That's just, that's not a viable formula. That's just an excuse. And that doesn't go anywhere. I want to hear some solutions. So I'm with you, Councillor Fawcett. I think that is absolutely critical that we talk to the Minister of Energy and talk to Adrian Dixon. I know they just did some projects. They did that wind project just up the road from us. There's about 30 turbines up there and it's generated about 180 to 240 kilowatts. So, that's renewable power. But I'd like to talk to them too about that power that they're shutting down, that gas fire power plant on Campbell River. Or even to be controversial, ask them a little bit about what their positions are on those small modular reactors that are coming into play now. I know people don't like nuclear power, but boy, it would change the equation for a lot of these islands on North Island. Councillor Pickard.
Thank you through the chair, and thanks Councillor Waymeyer for your list. That was really good points and good minister asked. And thanks Councillor Fawcett and Mayor Lott. BC Hydros, everyone has stars beside it, I think. So
And I think
It's a bit
Stan
later.
Roy is also setting up a meeting with BC Hydro that we can do before these
Yeah.
meetings at UBC.
Yeah.
Like you said, we don't want to speed date and not
Yeah.
get anybody's attention.
Yeah.
We want them focused on us. And I think we'll have an opportunity to speak
Mhm.
with BC Hydro about how we can collaborate or how we put together a working group or do something that helps us try and find some solutions for that or find a program down there that we could start working on. Carry on,
Yeah,
Councillor.
yeah, perfect. That's great.
Okay.
And I think it's a really good point too. If we can do BC Hydro there also, but invite them here, have a pre-meeting or something, because we've done a lot of work as mayor and council just to kind of get to this point and know how important that is. And that's critical to next steps in future. So BC Hydro has a lot of stars around it. And then maybe one to add to the list, depending what everyone thinks, is maybe Brittany Anderson, the mayor of state for local government and rural communities. She's been really engaged at all the AVICs, and I think we'll have a little bit of a more clear picture of what the economy is going to look like here with hopefully some
Get
federal
one.
government announcements soon before the BC Salmon Farmers AGM on the 16th. They thought we would have announcements if the open net pen farms would be extended to the ban or ban lifted. So I think we'll have a better picture, but she might be a good kind of big picture local solutions for government. And then just a point to add maybe to Councillor Waymeyer's, I don't know, Councillor Waymeyer, was your housing asks for building rural communities and support there for seniors or just in general, just building costs in general that are higher than market value?
Yes, remember?
I believe it was just more in general. Yeah, I'm just kind of following along with Campbell River at this point, where, the Minister of Health and stuff is, Campbell River was a high priority and all of a sudden they're not. I'd certainly like to support them because, they're the hub of the North Vancouver Island. But yeah, as far as the Minister of Housing, it's much more residential that I'm kind of looking at more than a specific or elderly care housing program there.
Awesome. Thanks, Councillor Waymeyer. So Ministry of Housing, for sure, just general residential and how, right, maybe some support or some kind of subsidies for building costs that are higher than market value, but maybe as a point under housing too, to do some not full-time care, but kind of some senior housing or some senior housing support, as we know that the 2026 provincial BC budget halted construction of their 153 bed long-term care facility. So putting extra pressure on our seniors and extra pressure on the hospitals. So maybe having some funding for something just more suitable for seniors than these huge family old mill houses that would then help with the housing crisis and free up some bigger houses. So maybe if we could do an ask for some funding for some kind of age in place, stay in place for the seniors to stay local a bit longer. I think they're such a benefit to the community and for them, to not be able to maintain these huge houses and not have many kind of more energy efficient, smaller places to live would be, I think, good for us to pursue. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor
And
Pickard.
also, is there anyone,
Councilor
sorry,
Pringle?
Mayor? I was just wondering about, is there anyone to meet about our food insecurities and our food banks? Who could we go to talk to about that? Because if we're going to advocate for more seniors and for more housing, we also have to have some security of food for people because we're living in desperate times.
Thank you, Councilor Pringle. So what would be the best path forward, administration, for? Now that you've heard this discussion,
I'd like to get the information from Councillor Waymeyer in writing so that we can start formulating that into something a bit more appropriate for an ask at UBCM. Councillor Pickard's item, though, with the Minister for Local and Government, and I forget the title. Anyways, there's really no ask in that. So usually at the UBCMs, there's usually an issue and an ask that we're having of them. It's not necessarily just like a general sit down.
Hmm.
So if you wish us to meet with them, we kind of need to know what the ask is, what we're asking from them.
Councilor Pickard?
Maybe we ask her to help us get hydro. Maybe we'll think about that over the next few weeks, and we'll see if we have any announcements or if we have kind of any kind of bigger picture things that we can get her to just bring light to her, get her to advocate for us for. Thank you.
Great. So you're going to forward that information to the CEO, and what will you do? Will you bring that back to us in the next meeting, Councillor Roy?
That would give us sufficient time to pull it together. I can draft it up into the appropriate format, run it back by Councillor Waymeyer to make sure it meets the intent he has, and then we can bring it back on the next agenda.
Can you refresh me again, Theo Roy, on how many ministers were entitled to meet with down at the UBCM?
If we had the energy and the luck, we can ask to meet with every one of them. There's not a limit on the number that you can, that they will tell you, they may limit us, but there is no formal limit on the number of ministers. The only thing is you can't go with, they don't want you going to two different ministers with the same topic.
Yep.
It's just
Remember
one
that.
minister per topic.
Great, thank you, sir. Anything else you want to discuss on there, Councilor Waymeyer?
No, I think that's a pretty
I think,
comprehensive list, and I'll make sure staff gets a copy so we can all review it in a couple of weeks from now.
terrific. So moving on then, because there's no actions we need to take right now. Question period. Any questions from the gallery? Are you guys just really happy with this and satisfied with the job they're doing, or are you just kind of a little timid about going up to the mic there? And no, you're happy with this? Well, that's good to hear. I guess we'll find out in November how happy you're with this. Take care. Any questions online, sir?
No, your worship.
Thank you. No notice of motions, no motion to adjourn in council, nothing to rise and report on. Adjournment, the meeting be adjourned. Is the motion. Who'd care to move it? Councillor Waymeyer, second by Councillor Pickard. Any discussion? Call for the question. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you very much, folks. Great job.
Take care, everyone. Good to see you all.
Bye, Councillor Pringle. Hope to see